All right, looks like everyone should have permission to record. Awesome, thank you. All right, Chris Bills, go ahead.
Yeah, Josh, just thinking about this week and having now been eliminated from the playoffs. I know that was probably in the cards the last few weeks, but um, I think we had a conversation a couple weeks ago, or maybe last week, when you said that you wanted to treat these matches like playoff games, and the performance was good the other night, but I just wonder kind of your thoughts on taking the performance versus results at this point in the season. It's just the way that you sort of analyze that. When you play well but you don't get the result, I think that's been like digestible and understandable throughout the season, but maybe in a case when you get eliminated from playoff contention, you just kind of wanted your thoughts on that.
Yeah, and what you're alluding to is now that you're eliminated from playoffs, go for results rather than good performances. That's what you're asking?
Oh, I'm just asking that, if your reaction, I think the other night was that, it was a good performance and, we were just unlucky, but, it was an elimination game for all intents and purposes, right?
Yeah, no, of course. I mean, again, I don't try to chase results. I look at really trying to capitalize on good performance to gain those good results. And the more good, solid performances you have, the more believable the results are. Of course, I recognize this is a results-oriented business. I also recognize we're building a team and we've had our hardships, we've had our lumps, we've had poor decisions, poor execution from coaches and player. And that's part of what this year, but I still always think, whether the players are 17 or 33, they're all capable of learning. They're all capable of getting better, as we all are. But to me, it's about getting this team to play well consistently. And those are with good performances. And when you have that in place, day in and day out, week in and week out, match by match, those good performances lead to good results. And, that's the way I've kind of stood by what I've said. Of course, I think we've missed opportunities to get better results. This was another opportunity with a good performance that we should have gotten a better result. There's been plenty where you maybe have a lesser performance and you get the result, or you have a poor performance and you get a poor result. So, I get that it's result orientated. I want our guys to win. I want us to obviously get the results that would put us in a better position than we are. But we are where we are right now. And I don't deter from the idea that we still need to try to play good soccer. And in doing that, there's the collective on offense and defense, and, taking your opportunities has been a theme all year. And that eluded us again last week. And there's not much I can say about it. We didn't give up a whole heck of a lot. And, we were all a little bit, I told the guys, be disappointed at the fact that we didn't win, but be pissed off about that. But the way we played and the consistency we showed throughout 90 minutes was solid. But I want our guys to get results. We're pushing these last 5 games for good results, but I also want it to be about the way we play and how we perform. And I want to utilize our best guys are available, and it's 3 games in 8-9 days. But again, it's a different separation between those games. So I expect to put our best team out there as much as we can these next 2 games.
Yeah, I was also wondering if you could clarify Danny Pereira's absence the other day. Was that a yellow card suspension? And is he available for the San Jose match, I guess, is the main question.
Yeah, he was suspended for yellow cards, and he'll be available for San Jose.
Thank you, Coach. And next up, Bob Alou.
Hey, Josh, just building off that a little bit, how important is it over these last 5 games to get more experience for some of the younger players?
I think it's important. I think when you got a guy like Mackenzie Gaines, you still want to see him get some minutes. But again, I think, Musa needs to keep seeing who we are and his role inside our group. He's been extremely helpful having a striker now. Again, I think changes the dynamic and the makeup of our group. But I do want guys, certainly, like Mackenzie to keep getting his opportunities. Danny Pereira's gotten a lot of the opportunities this year, and he's performed pretty well. A little inconsistent through the middle part of the season. He had some injuries early on. And again, I think Sebastian's gotten some minutes. So at some point, again, I'd like to get Owen on the field as well. He's a young player, but we see potential, and that's why Claudio signed him. So we want our young guys to get experience, but we want to come in and compete in these games. And first and foremost, it's putting forth the right mentality, the right understanding of what that's going to look like, and getting our best 11 out there every game. And we owe it to ourselves to keep performing in a good way to try to bring these results to the fans and to this community. And we got an opportunity against San Jose. It's going to be a difficult one. They are desperate to stay alive in the playoffs. We're going to see and feel what that looks like. And that's an opportunity for a lot of our players, whether it's young players or players from abroad, but also our domestic players that have been part of this league for a long time. And, that's part of the growth that we need to keep making. And we need to mature a little more as a group. And those are some things that are going to be keyed on for next year as well.
And then just any team that's not in the playoff race down the stretch, it would be easy for some guys to check out at some point. Why are you convinced that your guys won't do that?
Well, I think they have a very good spirit about them when they come to work every day. We've been facing difficulty all year. And, of course, I guess you could always say, well, now you are eliminated. Let's see what happens. But I'm going to continue to challenge the guys in the best way that I know how. And again, I think their understanding and their commitment has been extremely good. We've missed the mark maybe a couple of times this year as far as intensity and certainly what the game is going to look like and matching that. But again, I think these are great opportunities and invaluable experiences for a lot of our group. And we got to keep moving forward, even though we have been eliminated from the playoffs. We can certainly play spoiler. We have a couple games against our in-state rivals. So there's plenty to play for. And I'm not letting these guys back off. There's no way. Not right now.
Thank you. Next up, Eric Goodman.
Yeah, Josh, you mentioned those in-state games as you kind of, assess the 5 matches remaining. Do those stick out as ones maybe to pursue a little extra aggressively? The fans kind of have this trophy. I don't know if it's actually exists, but it's a trophy for the top Texas teams. It might be, some sort of a maybe consolation prize. Not that you guys are in the market for that, but are those kind of sticking out as extra priority?
I think they certainly serve a priority. We lost to both those two teams the last time. Right now, the focus is on San Jose, and it's going to be, again, a very challenging group. Another team that, again, we had our foot on their throat and let them off the last time we played them, and they took some points from us. And we needed to come here with the right mentality. After that, we'll start thinking about Houston, and then obviously we have a little break before we play Dallas. But those are two good teams, and again, they're in a similar situation where they're on the outside looking in. And again, for an in-state, for us being the new guys into this process, it's an invaluable opportunity to again, for ourselves, but also, as you just mentioned, for the fans. I mean, it's critical that we come home and obviously put some focus on that game and put forth a great effort and try to bring another good performance and a good result.
Thank you. Next up, Mark Turner.
Thanks, Laura. Hey, Coach.
Hello.
So in answering Bob's question, you mentioned, recognizing that San Jose is scrapping to try and make the playoffs. I don't think they'll be mathematically out, but to all intents and purposes, if you guys beat them midweek, that pretty much puts paid to that season for them. How are you using that with the guys, and how are you framing that to act as a motivator, to be the guys who show up and spoil the party on Wednesday night?
I think it's part of that. I think that's part of it. There's, we had some points taken from us from this direct opponent. They're obviously on the cusp of being in and out, and we have the ability to really challenge that opportunity for them. And that's kind of an outside narrative. I'll continue to talk about who we are and the way we want to perform to get that result. But I think you add a little bit of fuel to that. Obviously, we were all really disappointed with how that game went against against San Jose the last time. Obviously we took a red card, and the emotion and the intensity and the effort from that point forward was tremendous, and we almost still grabbed the result. But again, we've got an opportunity to certainly put a big dent in their future in the playoffs, and that's a narrative. That's without a doubt a narrative. And again, it's these games at this time of the year carry a different meaning, a different intensity. The refs ref it differently. Again, you'll see, and having been in this league for a while, it starts to tilt in a different way because playoffs look a little different than the regular season, and it's really important for our players to understand what that feels like, looks like, and gain experience from it.
Now, versus Minnesota, you were subject to a couple of dubious refereeing decisions again, maybe not as egregious as we've seen earlier in the season, but they're starting to add up, obviously, and you've talked about that a couple of times. I know my compatriot, Mr. Webb, was in the building this past. Did you have the opportunity to connect with him? And if you did, how did that conversation go?
I didn't connect with him. I think we've all had enough dialogue in the last few weeks, months, and it is what it is. I mean, week in and week out, we can all complain about things, but I think there's some obvious things that certainly haven't gone in our favor. And I'm not looking for favors. I'm just looking I'm just looking for good calls, honest calls, and them being reviewed in the right way. And we've been failed a number of times, but that's life. We move on, and I can't change what's happened. And we've all written our emails and gotten our return emails, but it's after the fact. It's tough to really get too concerned with it.
Well, thanks a lot. Frustration on Englishman out on this Englishman. I appreciate it.
Thank you. We have time for 2 more questions. Zach Smith, go ahead and take the next one, and then Cam Kubik, go ahead and take that last one.
Thanks. You've kind of established your best 11, or you kind of know your core. That's been playing well over the last, couple of weeks. Do you use these 5 games at all? Do you have any eye on the future as far as maybe players that are more on the fringes of the starting lineup or the squad in terms of what you have going forward?
Again, I think that's, the idea is that I think we've established who are, the first 13, 14 guys that typically see most of the minutes, what you're alluding to. And I think a lot of those the players that, the Jared Strouds, the Johnny Gallaghers, Rodney Redez, certainly, Freddie Kleeman, Aiden, the younger guys, Sebastian, those guys have all seen minutes. So we do have a pretty decent picture of who they are and their capabilities. And I expect them in some form or fashion that a lot of those guys will still see minutes, but we want to play well, we want to perform, and I think we still have a lot to learn and areas to grow. And again, I'm not going to say down the stretch, those guys don't get a start here or there, but right now we're still focusing on putting forward our best group. And as you mentioned, there's some subtle rotations within the 11 or the first 13 guys that we can use, but having the addition of Sebastian Driussi and having the addition of Musa allows us to get guys in some more areas. But if guys don't perform, again, I think you have to use these opportunities to play other players, and that's the level of competition that you need to have inside the group. And we need to grow the competition inside our group. The reserves and the guys that don't get major minutes also have to provide that element that now challenges us as far as decision making. So they'll get some minutes, but we're going to run with these players that you've seen in the last few games where we've had good performances. And if the performances dip for whatever reason, then we have some guys that'll get more minutes. But we obviously want to perform well and get results in the next 5 games.
Thank you. Looks like we had a last minute question from Chris Bills. Go ahead, Chris.
Thanks, Laura. I just wanted to build on, Eric was asking you a bit about the Texas opponents, but the idea of Copa Tejas itself, the idea that there's a trophy on the line, is that something that you guys are aware of and we'll talk about kind of leading into the Houston and Dallas matches? And I'm just, does that mean anything to you that there is, however it was created, that there is a trophy on the line in those 2 matches?
Yeah, again, I think we'll address those opponents as those games near. And again, they'll bring their own added angst based on obviously being in state and that rivalry continuing to develop. I know our guys didn't feel good about losing 3-0 in Houston. We didn't feel good about losing at home 5-3 to Dallas. So there's going to be plenty of energy and certainly narrative around those games. But for now, and the focus is going to be on San Jose. We'll get to Houston in the next few days, and obviously Dallas after that. But we recognize we're one of 3 teams in the state of Texas, and you're competing for those bragging rights, whether it's a trophy, a real trophy, a fictitious trophy. We're going to see these guys many, many times. So I think each and every opportunity carries weight and has the ability to build and charge that rivalry. And we'll look forward to those challenges as they come in the next week or 2.
Thank you, Coach. Thank you, Chris. Last question. Go ahead, Cam Kubik.
Hey, Josh. Just wanted to ask, outside of a good result tomorrow, which is the obvious benchmark of success. What are you really looking for from the team tomorrow night, especially given how different the last two games against San Jose were, with one being the scoreless draw and the last one being that sort of 7-goal shootout?
Yeah, they're a good team. They're a challenging team. And again, we've seen their result, what they've looked like the last 4 or 5 games. And, they're obviously playing with a level of commitment and desperation to stay alive. And, Matthias's teams play with real energy, real intensity, and there's a ton of fluidity. The structure moves around both offensively and defensively. We know how man-oriented they are, but we want to see how well we can navigate that. It's going to be challenging. And, I think there were really good moments when we played them last time where we could unsettle them, and we were able to break through some of their man orientation to create chances and score some goals. And then we lost a little bit of our footing in the second half and lost some of the discipline and the focus, and they caught us. And, I think, the first game was a 0-0, which was, a bit more open and back and forth, but we got to find the balance in there, because they're going to go for it, and they're going to leave themselves in some areas that can be exposed, but they have quality players. They have the ability to hurt you, as we've seen as well. And, having the right amount of discipline and the right amount of bravery for us to play through some pressure at times is going to be paramount. And as you said, the result is quite important. And, we put together a good performance. Hopefully that'll put us in position for the result. Even if we struggle and fight through it, that should also put us in position for a good result. So those things are always being evaluated and measured, but it's going to be a grind. It's going to be a cool night. It's probably going to be wet. And again, there's much to play for from their side and obviously for our guys as well.
Thanks, Cam, and thank you, Josh.